Hi, Nikki Wyatt, Karma Coach. This is the third and final video I'm recording about inner child patterns and inner child essences that are offered by Golden Ray. They're produced by Golden Ray and offered by Crystal Herbs, and you'll find the links below if you are interested in ordering any of them. So, our inner child is very much a part of us that is the part that gets triggered when maybe somebody says something or a situation occurs that reminds you of a moment in childhood when you had a strong reaction that wasn't able to finish. So you began to feel something arose within you, grief, anger, any kind of strong emotion, and you couldn't express it for some reason. You had to suppress it again because the people around you didn't appreciate your feelings, and hearing about your feelings, or maybe you wanted to have a temper tantrum, or cry, or scream, or express fear, and whatever it was, it wasn't welcome. And so you kept that to one side. And when we do that, we create these sort of little inner children within ourselves who are sitting there just wanting to finish what they start, let us know their feelings so they can be fully integrated back into our adult selves. And these essences really help with that. So, the first one I'm going to start with in this last video is the peace, inner child peace essence. And that's a good one because it is all about helping us with shock and trauma that happened to us when we were little. So it is about moments when life was really a bit shocking. Perhaps something happened that shattered your confidence. Maybe a teacher was really unpleasant to you. Maybe you were humiliated in class. Maybe you came home to find, I don't know, your cat had been run over or something really, big in a child's life. And you weren't able to process that and your feelings about that. So if you know there are moments like that that you really want to go back and heal, then peace in a child essence is one that you would be very well advised to take. And as you take it, you might find you get a flash of memory of whatever it was that didn't needed healing. You may find if it's a bit of a difficult one that you process it in your sleep by having vivid dreams. So you might wake up having had a dream of when you were little and something happening, and then it will have left your nervous system, and you'll feel a whole lot better and a whole lot more whole. Oh. The next one is prosperity, very popular in a child essence, because let's face it, a lot of us have not just childhood experiences of poverty consciousness, but sometimes we come in with them because it's a generational imprinting. If there's been poverty in our ancestral line, we will experience that from childhood onwards. We don't need to have had a childhood that was particularly deprived. But it's hard to achieve prosperity as an adult if you do have these subconscious loyalties either to your parents who maybe struggled when you were young, or to ancestors who perhaps struggled or had really big consequences in their lives because they didn't have what they needed in the way of financial resources, or other kinds of support and prosperity and abundance. And it can be quite difficult for you then to prosper and to thrive, knowing that they didn't. There may be some guilt in that. So, and there may also be a sense of not deserving prosperity. And again, that can be passed down, or it could be coming from your own experience of being a child and just not feeling that you were good enough, or deserving enough of the good things in this life. So whatever reason that is, then the prosperity in a child essence will kind of show it to you. It'll make you much more aware of what it is that's in the way of you receiving abundance, and you'll be able to process it and work with it, and hopefully then doors will begin to open, because abundance is all around us all the time. It's just a question of being in a position to receive it, and it is really the issue. And that's what this will help you to do, to kind of open your arms to receive what is already there for you. The next one is protected. it's called. The Inner Child Essence. This one is for people who are very sensitive and empathic. Um, if you take this essence, it's not going to stop you from feeling all the intense feelings that empaths and sensitives feel, but it will enable you to it creates this shield in front of your solar plexus, which is where we have our emotional brain, where we feel our feelings the most, which is why we tend to, our guts tend to be a barometer of how we're feeling. Um, and what it will do by creating that shield is, instead of you feeling kind of drained by what's going on around you, you will be aware still. You won't just lose your sensitivity. You will know what's going on around you. You'll still have all of that feeling, but you will not get overwhelmed or drawn into the emotional drama. So you'll be able to stay in your center and be more detached from what's going on. And you'll still, be able to use your gifts in a way, because if you are empathic or sensitive, it is a huge gift to have. It's just being able to use it in a way that doesn't drain you or cause you harm. And protected will help you do that. It'll also help you to be in your sensitivity without feeling scared or unsafe, which often we can feel. The next one is relate. Relate is actually all about communicating openly and honestly. So if you are, and to me, that's the basis of good relationships. So if relationships are an issue for you, if you've got a lot of disharmony in your relationships, then relate's a good one to take. It will help you become aware of any kind of patterns you've got going on, which were formed in childhood, which are creating problems for you now in your adult life. So let's take an example. Perhaps you had a father who was rather emotionally, inaccessible, or even physically absent a lot, or simply there but emotionally absent, and you really struggle to form any kind of connection, and therefore, as an adult, you tend to also go for unavailable men, and that's not, going to help your relationship. So when you take relate essence, that's going to make you much more aware of the pattern that's in operation. And this happens just as much for men. I mean, a man brought up by a woman who is, I don't know, caught up in grief or for whatever reason isn't emotionally available, will equally be attracted to women who are not emotionally available, and then dance around trying to win their approval all the time. It's That's one of the main, really important reasons why we need to sort out our inner child and the patterns of relationship that our inner child has got used to. Because if we don't sort that out, we simply repeat it as adults. We end up in partnerships with people who might as well be our mother or our father or some combo of the two. Um, because we haven't sorted out those early relationships. So relate will help you to do that. The next one is release. Release is about, oh gosh, the whole of humanity needs release, really. It's all about letting go of the cords that have corded into our emotional center, our solar plexus. So it's about our wounded child. It's about also, some people would call it the needy mother. Parents, I think men can be equally needy. Our parents can be very needy because they didn't resolve things from their own childhood. And you can be in this situation where there's all these cords going between your solar plexuses, if that's a plural, between the child and the parent, because you've both got needs that are not being met, and you're both perhaps trying to rescue each other or meet each other's needs, but in a very unhealthy way, because we need to be meeting our own needs first, and not being out there trying to help everybody else. So release will help us to cut those cords and to come from a place of much more unconditional love for each other. So instead of cording through and trying to care for each other through our solar plexus, we'll do it through our heart, which is where we are intended to care for each other. So any kind of sense of your wounded inner child and feeling needy, and that can be horribly uncomfortable to feel like that, then release is a good one to go for. The next one is self-worth. Self-worth is a good one to look at if you know you're overworking, if you know that, well, if you feel life's a struggle, if you feel you're heading for burnout, you're trying too hard all the time, then that's usually got to do with how much you're able to love and value yourself. We tend to try far too hard if we don't love and value ourselves. And this is all about when we take this essence, we are able to honor who we are and to see our true value and our unique qualities, because we are all unique, which is rather remarkable and wonderful. And when we take this essence, we have the confidence then to express those unique qualities that we have and to achieve what we've come here to do, our purpose. Um, so it can really turn you around actually taking self-worth. You will be probably become aware of where it is you don't feel worthy and valuable as you take it. But you can allow those feelings to go through, notice them, understand where they've come from in your childhood. And again, often it's an ancestral thing that gets passed down, this feeling of being less than and so on. Because of the events in your family line. But these will gradually clear away as you take self-worth essence, and at that point you can become much more fulfilled, much more able to celebrate your successes in life. You'll find you're guided much more by the heart because you're being guided by love rather than fear. When we have low self-worth, we tend to be constantly making choices from fear because we need approval from others and we're worried we're not going to get it or we fear their judgment and so on. But with self-worth essence and getting a big boost of that, you'll find you quite effortlessly are able to just be who you really are. The next one is simplicity. Simplicity in a child essence is for those of us who are overly logical, who overcomplicate things, who overthink. Um, and let's face it, our education system really encourages us to do that. There's such an emphasis on the mind and very little on the body or the spirit or the emotions. So we tend to honor the intellect and make a bit of a god of the intellect. And unfortunately, living in that place can be it's ungrounded and it's often where fears are born in our mind. So our masculine side also tends to get very overstimulated when we use our mind too much, and it puts too much pressure on us. We can't relax. Our mind's going at 100 miles an hour. Whereas our natural state is actually to have our masculine and feminine harmony. When we come into this life as a child, those two parts of us are naturally in harmony, and we kind of at some very core level know that that's how we're meant to be, and when those two parts of ourselves are working properly, life is much more simple. We do not have to effort and strive. We can we don't have to live in our heads. We live in our bodies, and our mind takes a different priority in our things we pay attention to, if you like. So this will, when you take this, you'll find that you're much more open to kind of the magic of life, synchronicity, flow, abundance, opportunities will all just naturally come because that is how life is meant to be. It is much simpler when you work with the universe instead of expecting your mind to sort everything out. And the next one is soul gifts. Soul gifts is about being able to express your soul qualities in everyday life. As you take this essence, you will start to remember maybe some gifts and talents that you haven't yet expressed or explored enough in your life this time, and because they may be something that you remember from past lives, or you've developed as a skill set, or it has been handed down to you through your family line. Maybe you've got very musical grandparents, for example, or a great grandparent who is very talented with languages, or something like that, or an artist. And these might be things you haven't yet explored. So, again, these are things that may not have been encouraged in you as a child, but were there, and there were seeds that just needed to develop. And I'd say this essence is one that's really a good idea to take just before meditation, because it can really help you to drop down and notice, where are these seeds, which ones need a bit more cultivation. The next one is soul retrieval, which you might be aware of as a kind of shamanic concept. I suppose as a more therapeutic concept, I would say soul retrieval is about finding those fragmented parts of yourself that have been separated from your personality, if you like, because something happened that made it very difficult for you to remain whole. That you had to sort of put that part of you aside, and that part of you is holding on to a memory that was too difficult for you to process. You were too young to process it. It was too shocking. There was no one there to help you and support you in processing it. So if you're ready now to kind of reintegrate that part of yourself, soul retrieval is a fantastic essence to help you do that. Obviously, great one to use with therapy, if you're in therapy, or doing past life work, or shamanic journeying, or constellation work, or any other millions of other therapies that are out there that are helping you to become more complete. Then this will be a great ally, this essence. The next one is stillness, and stillness is really good to help you develop patience and to release irritation. So if you get easily annoyed, if you're one of those people who is always swearing at other drivers as soon as you get behind the wheel, or you fly off the handle easily, then stillness is one to take, definitely. We have sort of made a god of time in some ways. Everything's about time and not wasting time and being on time, and yet time is actually a man-made construct. It doesn't actually exist. Everything's happening all at once. Someone once said to me something like, we had to invent time to keep everything in order. It's a bit like a cutlery drawer. You put that thing in and it helps everything sort itself out. So if you, rather than sort of trying to live 24/7 and being productive, which is how society seems to have set itself up now, as you take stillness, you will find you begin to live much more by nature's cycles, which gives you a much more timeless way of living. You have a sense of decay and regrowth and seeding and lying fallow for a while and then coming up and blossoming and so on. So, that is how we're kind of meant to live. And to accept that there are moments when we will not be productive, when we need to rest and recharge and refuel, and to go more with the flow of life. Because the more we are impatient, the more we actually cut off that flow of life force. Very tiring impatience. If you're tired and you notice you're also irritable and impatient, they are related very much, because we've cut off our own life force and our energy by having those, that attitude to life and those emotions. So if you take this essence, you'll find that you begin to develop much more patience, both with yourself and with other people. And that will also allow you to give yourself permission to relax, to make time to meditate, to take pauses in the day, and to find a pace of life that actually feels more humane and kinder to you. The penultimate one in this video is truth. Truth is all about expressing yourself from the heart. And as we know, children just don't have a filter, outcomes, whatever they feel. And if their Auntie Mary's offended, that's just tough, because children don't have any inhibition about saying what's true. But unfortunately, as we grow, we learn that truth is not always welcome, and we start to adapt what we're saying to fit in with people and society and the beliefs of people around us and so on. Until perhaps, which up to a point is understandable, but it can also mean that we start to lose connection with our own true self and what's true for us because we're too concerned about how that might land with other people. So this essence will help you to release the blocks that will have been created in your throat chakra from having to feel you've got to suppress your truth and stay silent. This will help your throat chakra to expand and open up, and enable you to be more honest and to speak your truth. Yes, okay, as an adult, hopefully more diplomatically and lovingly, but nonetheless to speak your truth and not to stay silent or to say things that are purely to manipulate the opinions and approval of others. And the final one in this video is vision. Vision is an inner child essence, which is all about developing your inner knowing, your intuition. So if you were born with a lot of spiritual gifts, such as clairvoyance, clairsentience, the ability to talk to angels, you might find that you have a huge connection to nature. But none of that was perhaps very welcome when you were a child. There might not have been people around who understood that. You might not have been in an education system that encouraged you to develop those skills. This essence will allow you to accept those gifts and to explore them now as an adult with a sense of safety and confidence and a purpose, because we're given these gifts for a purpose. So I hope if you are someone who's come in with a purpose that you have yet to share with the rest of us, that you will take vision and allow yourself to begin to explore and put those gifts into service for the benefit of the rest of us as much as yourself. And that's where I've got to with inner child essences. And I hope to be with you again with another topic. And I hope you found that helpful. I'm just going to say goodbye.